Picture the last flame of your fire sinking down into the embers. The orange glow shrinks. The circle of light pulls in around you closer and closer until it is barely wider than your own body. And beyond that thin edge of light, the darkness is waiting. Not empty. Waiting. You cannot see your own hand. You cannot see the trees, or the path, or the water. But you can hear. A twig snaps somewhere out in the black. Then nothing. Then a soft, dragging sound, low to the ground. Your heart slams. Your skin prickles. Every muscle locks. You are not thinking in words. Something older than words has taken the controls, and it is screaming one thing at you. Something is out there. You feel it right now, reading this, even in a warm lit room. That cold little drop in the stomach at the idea of the dark. We laugh it off. We call it childish. We tell our children there is nothing there. Go back to sleep. But that fear is not childish. It is not silly. It is one of the oldest, deepest, most useful feelings a human being can have. It kept your ancestors alive for 1,000,000 nights. And tonight, it is still wired into you. So, where did it come from? When did humans first learn to be afraid of the dark? And why, after all these thousands of years of firelight and lamplight and electric light, can none of us fully shake it off? Let us go back into the dark and find out. Start with a simple, brutal fact about your own body. You are a daytime animal. Look at your eyes. They are built for sunshine. They are packed with cone cells, the parts that see sharp detail and bright color, and they are wonderful in the light of day. But the moment the sun goes down, your eyes become almost useless. You have very few of the other kind of cell, the rod cells, that gather faint light in the dark. Compared to the animals of the night, you are nearly blind. Now think about who owns the night. The cat does. The leopard, the lion, the tiger. Their eyes have a mirror at the back, a shining layer that catches every scrap of light and doubles it. That is why an animal's eyes flash back at you in the dark. They can see you when you cannot see them. They can move without a sound. Their whiskers read the air. Their ears turn like dishes. In the dark, a big cat is a perfect machine, and you are slow and clumsy and loud and blind. For most of human history, when the sun went down, the world did not belong to us. It belonged to them. We know this is not a story. We have the evidence in the ground. There is a famous skull of an early human child from a place called Taung in Africa, almost 2 million years old. And in that little skull are 2 neat puncture marks. For a long time, nobody knew what made them. Then someone matched them to the talons of a huge eagle. That child was taken by a bird of prey. There are other bones with the tooth marks of leopards pressed into them, fitting exactly like a key in a lock. In one cave, scientists found the remains of early humans stacked up with the bones of the animals that ate them. To a leopard, an early human was not a mighty hunter. We were meat. Soft, slow, easy meat, and the easiest time to catch us was in the dark, when we could not see it coming. Imagine that world for a moment. No walls, no doors, no lock, no torch, no gun. Just your family huddled together on the open ground or under a rock overhang as the light dies. And somewhere out in that darkness, moving on silent feet, something with better eyes than yours is deciding whether tonight is the night. The humans who felt no fear in that dark, who wandered off alone, who slept soundly out in the open with no worry at all, those humans did not live long. They did not have children. They are not your ancestors. The ones who survived were the nervous ones, the ones who startled at every sound, the ones who felt that cold drop in the stomach and pulled their children close and stared into the black. Their fear kept them alive long enough to pass it on. Night after night, generation after generation, that fear was carved deeper and deeper into the human mind, until it stopped being a lesson you had to learn and became a part of what you simply are. You did not choose to fear the dark. You inherited it. It is a gift from every ancestor who was smart enough to be afraid. And then, one day, we found a weapon against the night: fire. We cannot say for certain who first carried a burning branch back from a wildfire or who first learned to make a spark on purpose. But we can say what fire did, and it changed everything. Fire gave us the one thing we did not have. It gave us a circle of light in a world of dark. Think about what that little circle meant. Inside it, you could see. You could see the faces of your family, the food in your hands, the ground at your feet. And just as important, the things in the dark could see the fire. To an animal, fire is danger. It flickers, it crackles, it spits, and it hurts. Most predators will not cross a line of flame. So, for the first time, our ancestors had a wall that was not made of stone, a wall made of light. The fire pushed the darkness back an arm's length, and in that arm's length, humanity was born. Because the fire did more than keep the leopards away. It gave us the night itself. Before fire, when the sun went down, there was nothing to do but sleep and be afraid. After fire, the night became a room. A warm, bright, safe room, ringed by dark. And in that room, gathered around the flames, our ancestors did something new. They stayed awake. They talked. They shared food. They told stories. Almost every good thing about being human, the stories, the songs, the closeness, the long, slow talk that builds a family and a tribe, was born in that circle of firelight, held together by the dark pressing in from outside. The dark made us afraid, and the fear made us huddle close, and the huddling close made us human. But a fire has to be fed. Let it die in the night, and the wall of light dies with it, and the dark comes flooding back in. So our ancestors did something that we still do in a quiet way without ever knowing why. They took turns. Someone always stayed awake. While the others slept, one person sat by the flames, feeding them, listening to the dark, watching. And when they grew tired, they woke another and lay down and slept in the safety of someone else's open eyes. The night watch is older than any army, older than any city. It began here, around a fire, with a family that had learned the hard way that the dark must never be left unwatched. And there is a beautiful clue to this hidden in our own bodies even now. In any group of people, some fall asleep early and wake at dawn. Others cannot sleep until late and hate the morning. We treat this as a fault, a bad habit. But look at what it does. Spread a band of humans across those different clocks, and there is almost no moment of the night when every single one of them is asleep at the same time. Someone is always likely to be awake. The dark was so dangerous that evolution itself arranged for us never to be fully undefended. Even our sleep is a kind of watch. But the fire could only do so much. It could hold back the animals. It could not hold back the mind. Because here is the strange part. Here is the part that turns a simple fear into something far more interesting. When the light goes out and you cannot see, your brain does not just sit there quietly in the dark. It does the opposite. It goes to work. Your brain hates not knowing. It is built, above all else, to answer one question over and over, all day and all night. What is that? What is that shape, that sound, that movement? And in the light, it answers easily. That is a tree. That is the wind. That is your friend walking over. But in the dark, the questions keep coming and the answers stop. What was that sound? You do not know. What is that shape in the corner? You cannot tell. And your brain cannot stand an empty answer. So it fills the gap. It reaches into its memory, into its fears, and it paints a picture over the darkness. That coat on the chair becomes a crouching man. That knot in the wood becomes a staring eye. That ordinary creak of the house becomes a footstep. and notice which way the brain guesses. It never fills the dark with something safe and pleasant. You do not lie awake, terrified that there might be a basket of fruit under the bed. The mind always guesses danger. Always the crouching man, never the coat. And there is a cold, brilliant logic to that. Imagine two of your distant ancestors, lying in the dark, and a shape moves at the edge of the camp. The first one thinks it is only the wind, and rolls over and goes back to sleep. The second one thinks it is a predator and jerks awake, heart pounding, ready to run. 99 times out of 100, it really is just the wind, and the calm one was right, and the frightened one wasted a little sleep and a little energy for nothing. But on the 100th night, it is not the wind. It is a leopard. And the calm one dies, and the frightened one lives. So a brain that panics at shadows, a brain that cries wolf 100 times to be right just once, is a brain that survives. Being wrong about a shadow costs you a racing heart. Being wrong about a predator costs you everything. Your mind would rather scare you 1,000 times for nothing than fail to scare you the one time it matters. That is why the dark feels alive. That is why the empty room feels watched. Your brain is not broken when it does this. It is doing exactly what it was built to do. It is guessing danger, because for 1,000,000 years, guessing danger is what kept us alive. And out of that machinery, out of a mind that fills the dark with imagined threats, our ancestors built something that no animal has ever built. They built monsters. Think about it. A leopard is real. A snake is real. But the thing that hunts you in a nightmare, the thing that waits in the deep cave, the shape with too many teeth and eyes that glow, that is something else. That is a predator that never existed, stitched together in the human mind out of every real predator that ever hunted us. And here is the astonishing thing. It is not just one culture. It is all of them. Everywhere humans have ever lived, in every corner of the earth, people made monsters of the dark. Creatures that come at night, things that drink blood, that steal children, that sit on your chest while you sleep, that wait in the water or the woods or the shadow under the world. The details change from place to place, but the shape of the fear is the same, because the fear itself is the same, and it is very, very old. Look closely at the monsters and you can almost see the real animals inside them. The glowing eyes of the night hunter, the claws of the great cat, the coils of the serpent, the teeth, always the teeth. Our monsters are a memory. They are the ghosts of the real things that ate our ancestors, remembered by a mind that will never fully forget the taste of that fear. And some of our monsters were born from something even stranger than memory, something that still happens to people today. Imagine you wake in the night and you cannot move. Not a finger, not a toe. You are awake, your eyes are open, but your whole body is frozen, held down. And there is a weight on your chest, a pressure, crushing. And in the room, in the dark, you are certain, absolutely certain, that there is something there, a presence, a figure by the bed, watching you, and you cannot move, and you cannot scream, and you cannot breathe. This is real. It is called sleep paralysis, and it happens when your mind wakes up before your body does. In deep sleep, the body switches itself off so you cannot act out your dreams. Usually it switches back on before you wake. But sometimes the timing slips, and you surface into the waking world while your body is still locked, and your dreaming mind is still running, and it pours a nightmare straight into your dark, real bedroom. For thousands of years, nobody knew any of that. All they knew was the terror. And so, all over the world, people gave the terror a name and a face. In one land, it was an old hag who sat on the sleeper's chest. In another, a demon that pressed you down. A witch, a spirit, a shadow that comes in the night and steals your breath. Different names, the same figure, the same crushing weight, the same helpless dark, described by people who had never met on opposite sides of the world. They were not making up stories. They were all describing the exact same thing that had happened in the dark to their own bodies. The monster in the dark was, in the end, partly us. Now, of everyone who feels this fear, there is one group that feels it strongest of all: children. Almost every child, everywhere, at a certain age, becomes afraid of the dark, afraid of the closet, the space under the bed, the hallway at night. Parents everywhere treat it as a phase, a silly thing to be grown out of. But stop and think about it, and it is not silly at all. It is beautifully, perfectly logical. Who was the easiest prey of all in that ancient dark? Not the strong adult with a spear. The child. Small, weak, slow, precious. The child was exactly what the night hunter wanted most. And so the fear of the dark switches on hardest in children, right at the age when they are old enough to wander off on their own, but far too weak to survive what waits outside. The fear is not a flaw in the child. It is a guardian. It is a million years of dead ancestors whispering, "Stay by the fire, stay close, do not go into the dark alone." The child who feared the dark stayed near the grown-ups and lived. The fear is doing its job in a warm, safe bedroom for a danger that is long gone, because the mind that made it cannot tell that the leopards have left. And that is the strangest thing of all about the fear of the dark. We won. We beat the darkness. Think of how thoroughly we beat it. We have doors that lock. We have walls of stone and brick. We have wiped out or fenced off nearly every animal that once hunted us. And above all, we did the impossible thing. We flicked a switch and filled the night with light. A person today can go their entire life and never once be in true, total, natural darkness with something dangerous nearby. The night that terrorized 1,000 generations of our family is, for us, simply gone. And yet, turn off every light in your house tonight and stand in the black hallway and feel what happens. The old drop in the stomach, the prickle on the neck, the certainty against everything you know that the darkness is not quite empty. The leopards are gone, but the fear of them is still here, sitting in the oldest part of your brain, still watching the dark on your behalf, still ready, just in case. You cannot reason it away, because it was never built by reason. It was built by survival, and survival does not care what you know. It only cares that you are still here. Which brings us to one last delicious little mystery. If the dark is so frightening, if this fear is so deep and so old, then why on earth do we love to be scared? Why do we tell ghost stories in the dark on purpose? Why do we pay money to sit in a black room and let a film terrify us? Why do we creep down the haunted hallway when every cell in our body is begging us not to? Because deep down, we know it is safe. And that is the whole trick. When you watch a scary story, you get to feel that ancient terror, that racing heart, that flood of fear chemicals, while some quiet part of your mind knows, the whole time, that you are safe on the sofa. It is the fear of our ancestors with the danger taken out. A rehearsal. A game. We are playing with the monster because for the first time in the history of our species, we finally can. Every scary story we tell is a tiny echo of the real thing. Every child under the blanket, every ghost tale around a campfire, every horror film is us reaching back, safely now, to touch the oldest fear we have. The fear that made us huddle. The fear that made the fire. The fear that, in a strange and roundabout way, helped make us human. And when you understand that, the fear stops being something to be ashamed of. It becomes something almost precious. Every time your heart jumps at a shadow, you are feeling the same jolt that saved 100,000 of your ancestors. That racing pulse in the dark hallway is not weakness. It is a machine, tuned over 1,000,000 years, that has only ever had one job, and it has never once, in all that time, been switched off. It is switched on right now, in you, watching a darkness that no longer holds any teeth, guarding a body that no longer needs guarding, faithful to the end. So tonight, when you switch off the last light and the room goes dark, and for just a second you feel that ancient shiver, do not be embarrassed by it. Do not call it childish. That shiver is a message, carried to you across 1,000,000 years, from every ancestor who was wise enough to be afraid. It kept them alive. It is the reason you exist. Say thank you to it. And then, like they did, find your circle of light. Pull the ones you love a little closer and let the darkness wait outside. Thanks for watching. If you felt that cold little shiver even once while you listened, that is 100,000 years of survival saying, hello. Subscribe and stick around, and we will meet again by the fire to explore another strange, forgotten corner of what it means to be human.